Hi, everybody. Chief Meteorologist Chris Justus here with you. I want to give you an update on the tropics because we're starting to see things come alive. I want to let you know what I'm tracking right now with now 2 areas in the Atlantic. As always, this is your trusted place for weather. I give you an early look at what's happening in the Atlantic and a reliable forecast you can count on and a direct approach you just won't find anywhere else. We've got 2 areas now in very warm waters that we're watching. You've got one toward the south here that could impact the Caribbean islands here. I want to put you on notice. We've got a 30% chance of tropical development in the next couple of days. And then this area, not really where it's at right now because there's too much wind shear, even though it's over very warm water. But by the time it gets over here toward the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, it has a small chance of becoming a named tropical system in this region. Both look to be low riders right now, but we can't discount it. What's kind of driving things right now is this Saharan dust that's in the eastern parts of the Atlantic. Big plume of it actually may try to make its way toward Florida as we go toward the end of this week, which could make to those very vibrant sunrises and sunsets. Just makes it extra kind of those particulates in the air, make it extra reflective and quite beautiful actually. But it also suppresses development in some regions, especially back here toward the main development region in this area. Just lots of dry air kind of entrained here. So that's a good thing for us over the next week to 2 weeks, but it certainly doesn't end all be all type thing. This GFS model kind of outlines that Saharan dust plume just kind of sitting there in this region. This gets us all the way to Friday, July 12th. Big plume of it over here, but plenty of moisture in this region to get something or anything to try to develop. Let's look at the European kind of ensembles, an average of all the European models at what could develop as far as tropical depressions or maybe even a named tropical system over the next week. Watching those 2 areas, you see the bubbles right there, and a little area off the Carolina coast the Euro is kind of hinting on. That pulls away. You'll have to watch that, but it would not be a threat to the United States. Pretty good chance of some development in the European models from this little guy in the Caribbean by the time, again, it gets here. This would be Saturday's time frame. So about an 80% chance from the European model of a named system kind of heading toward the Yucatan Peninsula region. That'd probably be a tropical storm at that point. Then it kind of gets in train with some land and probably weakens by Sunday's time frame. Now look at that area toward the Caribbean islands right here. It's a low rider here. Again, it's at about 10 degrees north. About a 40 to 50% chance for the European models at becoming a named system right there. That continues to chug toward the west. Maybe a low-end tropical storm here toward the southern Caribbean islands right here, the Leeward and Windward Islands. It goes south of Puerto Rico. Looks like it stays in the Caribbean Sea according to the European model here. Some of these European ensembles want to split this up toward the Bahamas. The other half takes it toward the west, and the majority of it takes it toward the west. So what does that look like? Let's look at the anomalies here and where we're kind of heading as far as the low pressure here. So you see lower pressure right in here, lower pressure right in here. So watching both of those, if you have plans for cruises, I don't see anything sticking out to me at being detrimental. But you remember just last week, all the rip current concerns across the Gulf Coast here in Florida, all because of a weak tropical system here in the Bay of Campeche. So it doesn't take a lot to make very dangerous waters in for your beach trips. It looks like the high pressure and the heat continues across the East Coast. Aside from that, it is just going to be dry and hot there. You almost need some kind of tropical interaction to get some rain in this kind of a pattern. And right now, looking at some lowering pressure here, this would be Sunday's time frame. This European model takes it some lower pressure, maybe a tropical storm toward the Leeward Islands and then into the Caribbean where it continues to press toward the west right here. And a couple lowering pressures in here in the Caribbean, but nothing really makes its way toward the north just yet. And this gets us all the way to July 6th. Looks like a plume of that moisture. Maybe a low pressure tries to go up through Cuba. Could spin around like this depending on what's happening on with the fronts in this area. How about the European, all the models combined? Let's refresh this to today's models. Got a new suite that just came in. You're seeing it right here. This is kind of showing you all 51 different runs of the low pressure systems. And they got a grouping of some lows right here. They're all sitting between 995 and 1,007. So we're talking a weaker type low pressure system. But as you get in here, we got a couple of 990s, 970s. So that would be low-end hurricane status on some of these European models. I count probably 5 or 6 of those out of the 51. So the majority are not showing a hurricane, but I am showing you here that, hey, some of the models here of the European are showing that this could be the case. High pressure just dominating the East Coast. Hot, dry, 90s pretty much from coast to coast here with the Bermuda high steering like this. Basically, everything is going westbound in this area. So watching this closely through the Caribbean, notice how, again, some of those models want to split up into here and go into the Atlantic. Got a couple of oddball 940s, 950s. That's the anomaly. Don't want to show you that, but there are a couple of 960s, 990s, 980s. So again, some hurricane low pressures showing up here in our European models. So moving forward here, they're kind of getting scattered, so no real conclusive idea of where anything would kind of be forming there. But just to show you, whatever that little rascal is, would be trying to go somewhere toward the west or splitting up this way toward the end of the 4th of July weekend. So something we got to keep in mind as a lot of folks are traveling. It is just going to be hot. This is the anomaly of temperatures. Red would be above normal temperatures. Blue would be below. This gets us into the week. I mean, you're talking significantly warmer than average temperatures here. Plus 90s all across the southeast, Carolinas to Georgia to Florida. This gets us into the 4th of July weekend. You've got July 1st here. We got some warmer temperatures back through Texas, Oklahoma, and then spreading east. Looks like we don't cool down until we get to that Saturday, July 6th time frame with possibly a little bit more moisture, but rain is just nada. Maybe some pop-up storms here and there, but notice the totals here across the Carolinas where a drought is developing. We're talking pennies, 1/10 of an inch at most here across Asheville, surrounding areas. The upstate of South Carolina, just a few 1/100ths of an inch of rain. And then as we get toward July 6th time frame, looks like the southeast is influenced by a little bit more humidity, a little bit more moisture, possibly from the tropics. Doesn't look to be organized, but more just an influence from the tropics that could give us better rain chances, especially along the coast here, as far as thunderstorm chances are concerned. Drought, we need it. We're in a pretty significant drought here from Florida up through the Carolinas, and this is pretty much a flash drought. It's dictated by how quickly it came on. It was here in an instant because we were quite wet in the May and just turned off the water faucet. Okay, as far as hazards, this is a good map to look at from the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. They got the southeast bubbled here for the next week. That'd be that first week of July. The outlook here for next week, the hazards in the southeast would be from well above average temperatures. So heat wave continues there. You've got hatched here with tropical storm or cyclone formation. They've got about a 20% chance at some development in here. So we'll keep watch on both of those. What I can tell you here is a new outlook that gets us through July 9th shows above normal temperatures for the southeast. And unfortunately, for those of you that need the rain, like I do at my house, below average precipitation. And it doesn't look like we see that pattern lack up. This is the extended outlook that goes for temperatures through July 19th. It looks like July we are going to be cooking and we are going to be dry. This outlook for precipitation goes through July 19th as well. So showing you the next 2 weeks and then that third week of July. Boy, oh boy, we're looked to stay high and dry as it looks to be really, really hot across the region. So again, I'm going to be here monitoring everything for you from the Caribbean to the Gulf to the Atlantic Basin. And here in the Southeast with all those heat advisories locked in, all those oranges from the Carolinas to the Florida Panhandle through Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, Louisiana, into Oklahoma, just abnormally warm, folks. And that's a danger this time of the year. So as always, if you don't subscribe to my channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and turn on notifications as that does help me out with the old YouTube algorithms. I sure appreciate your time, and I know it's valuable, so I want to keep you posted here as we're in the midst of a developing tropical season that's coming alive.